welcome. This is a very basic and simple model that we're going to be looking at in this particular video, and we're going to be looking at scenario analysis or scenario model. So, basically, a model is just a way of dynamically forecasting figures in Excel. So, take for example, you have some figures that you want to maybe forecast into the future, like you want to look at how the numbers will look when you change a particular number. Maybe when you change a particular number in an input file, you want to see basically how the number will look like. It's just a way of bringing together formulas and also um, fundamentals, you know, to actually see what the outcome will be. You're just modeling a particular situation, as the name implies. So, in this simple model, we're going to be looking at scenario analysis. And scenario analysis is just talking about like when in this particular scenario, the one that we're looking at now, we have the revenue and we have our cost. So we want to look at what our net income will be when it comes to the best case scenario for our revenue and our cost, base case scenario and the worst case scenario. Take for example, these particular figures have been given to us by maybe the director of finance or one of the managers, and he just wants us to build a very simple model so that you can quickly check what the our scenario will be in each of the case. So how do we do it? So basically what we can do is to create this kind of visual for so that the person will be able to see how each of the scenarios. And if you look at this place now, we have three scenarios: the best case scenario, base case scenario, and worst case scenario. So for us to do it simply, since we have our input figures, which is this one, we can just quickly come here, and this place is going to be where we are going to be picking our uh, our scenarios from. Basically what we saw the other time, the base case scenario, the best case scenario and the worst case scenario. But how do we do it? We want to do it in a way that is a little bit dynamic so that um the person can just pick from it. So we can use data validation for that so that it will just be like a drop down. The person will just pick like a number. So let's first of all take care of that one, because as you can see here now, this is just 1 to 3. So we want to pick like 1 to 3. So before we pick the 1 to 3, let's even see how the scenario analysis work. Let's take for example, this is the scenario analysis, which is one, the best case scenario. And basically for us to be able to get the figures for the best case scenario here, you can use a choose function. So a choose function is what we are going to use so that we're able to select the input here. So let's use the choose function. So this is the choose function, tab key. So we are going to be choosing this particular any value here. We're going to be locking it using F4. So when we lock it in place, we now select the values for it. This is the revenue row now. So I'm going to select the values for revenue, which is this one, comma, this one, comma, this one. So basically this is what we are going to be choosing from. Then we just close it and we enter. You can see now it picked the first number here, which is 1. That's why you can see 1 here. So if you pick something else, let's say 2, you can see now it changed to 2. Yeah. So you can just copy this formula to each of the cells that we have. That's all for revenue. For cost too, we can do the same thing. You can use the choose function. So choose function is going to get like an index here. So basically this will be our index. Then the values that are supposed to be populated based on the index. So our index is, let's just choose our index here. Our index is any value here, which is going to be dynamic by the way. So any number there. So we are going to be choosing our cost values, which is this one, the first one. Then we can choose for the number 2, which is the best case scenario, and this one for the worst case scenario. We close it and we enter. So you can see now that it picked for 2, which is the best case scenario here, 16,000. You can see now minus 16,000, choose 16,000 here. Then you can just copy the formula Sorry. So you can just copy the formula here. Yeah. So what we can do now, because I mean, the only thing we need to do now is to sum the revenue and the cost. So when you sum it, the difference is going to be our net income. So let's sum it. So then we can just scroll to get, yeah. So these are the values now. You can see now that this is our net income, but this is for the base case scenario. But assuming the manager don't want to just be changing the number by itself, and in some cases, someone might just enter 5, which is going to give a wrong value here because the numbers here are just 1 to 3. So to prevent that, we actually use like a data validation. Using a data validation is very important. So how we can do the data validation is just to come to where we want our variables to be, then come to data, then we can come to this data validation part. Then you can see I've done it before. So there's a list here. You just list the number of the numbers that the user is supposed to like input. So this is like hard coding it. So you just put 1 to 3. So if anybody, so definitely they won't be able to even have access to 4 or 5 or any other number. So basically that's how to like restrict the number so that your model actually works. Thank you.